It is Rick Ginn, and today we are all talking about just the three simplest things you can do to close any wholesaling deal. The main thing is most of you, like your explanation to sellers, you make it so complicated. Simplify your explanation. What do I mean by that? Stop. Number one, don't tell them you're a wholesaler because they don't know what a wholesaler is. Or if they know what a wholesaler is, a realtor probably told them, or they read some sort of negative article from the We Buy Ugly Houses guys, and they assume you're there to rip them off. You're just a regular Joe looking to buy a house for cash. I'm looking for a house in this neighborhood. Does your house foot the bill? Stop trying to be this highly sophisticated real estate entrepreneur wholesaler and try to explain this complicated thing, which you know's a huge lie. And once you start off with a lie, it just rolls and it goes downhill and it gets really bad. So what you need to do is really just focus on one main thing. I'm a guy just looking to buy a house for cash, or me and my partner are looking to buy a house for cash in this neighborhood. I'd love to see if your house foots the bill. Would you be interested in talking to me? That's it. Do not go into this long one. I have a $5 million fund. Someone's heard the other day, I literally heard this out of a guru's mouth. We have a $50 million fund. No, you don't have a $50 million fund. It doesn't. Buying single family houses, buying them one by one, to spend $50 million is, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you're not going to get good buys. Not over 2 years maybe, but over a 90-day period, absolutely not. You're going to get killed. You're going to get, at best, very, very low marginal returns, or you're probably going to lose money. You can't, because you got to go house by house. Apartments, commercial buildings, stuff like that, yes, whole different world. But in single family homes, it's unrealistic. So what I'm trying to tell you is, number one, tell the truth and simplify it. The more complicated you make your explanation to a seller, the harder it is for them to wrap their head around you. And I'm like, here's one little secret I'll tell you. Sometimes you take your company and you put it to the side. Why? Because if they think and know you are the buyer, then they can have a straight one-on-one conversation. A lot of times when you use corporations, they assume you're a big giant corporation, and they're going to go through a lot of delays and paperwork, and you create anxiety with your sellers. So focus on one singular point, and really just all you have to do is basically let them know, hey, me and my partner are buying the house for cash. Let's see if your house qualifies. So if you just go back in on this inner conversation and do it just like that, it works. But a lot of times when you start out, you guys try to be bigger and badder than you actually are. They don't care. Honestly, here's the secret. Most people sell houses to private individuals 10 times over what they'll ever sell to a corporation, because they feel like someone's accountable, they're responsible, and they care about them, and they don't treat them just like a number. The reality is, people selling us houses, they have challenges. That's why they didn't call a regular realtor. Or maybe they've had a bad experience with a realtor. So you have to overcome those challenges and help them out with it. The last thing you want to do is make yourself bigger than you actually are. Honestly, I think I got a lot of my first few deals because people just wanted to give me a shot. They go, you seem pretty honest, you're likable, you've been very professional about everything. Heck, I might as well just go ahead and give you a shot. I can't tell you how many of the first few houses I bought were just like that. And then somebody tried to teach me, like, tell them you got a $5 million fund, tell them you're a big corporation. Honestly, people like quick decisions from private individuals. So in the beginning, I always marketed myself as Rick Ginn, just looking to buy houses. Why? Because my name's Rick Ginn, and I'm looking to buy houses for cash. It is a singular focus point, and you can't screw it up. And the more moving parts you put in your sales presentation, the more it's going to fall apart. So I never had to rehearse because I knew my name and I did want to buy houses for cash. So it wasn't a lie. I didn't have to forget it, and I didn't have to memorize a script. So most of the time, if you simplify your process, it works really, really well. And what I'm trying to tell you is, moving on to the next thing, is stop trying to complicate the process. It's actually really simple. You have a buyer and you have a seller. If you guys can come in somewhere in the middle, over to this side, or maybe even to this side, and put a deal together, that's all a wholesale deal is. Now, you have to understand, you're not out to close on every deal you ever make an offer on. If you did, I would be scared for you, because business doesn't work that way. So maybe make 10 or 20 offers and one person considers it. I'm perfectly fine with that. So realtors, they want to list every house they meet in front of it. Wholesalers, we understand it is a numbers game for us, and we play the numbers game. And if you don't write offers and you don't go on enough appointments, you will never get the numbers game. You're never going to have the perfect appointment. Stop looking for it. It's going to happen by an accident and you're going to go, that was the best appointment I ever had in my life. And you cannot expect that going forward. So we have to solve a lot of problems in wholesaling. So stop complicating it. If you are doing a over-the-top presentation, simplify it. People like to do business with people they understand and that are likable. And if you can accomplish those two things and you find the right type of people, the right targeted list, like government list, like we teach you. And if you want to learn how to do that, go over to freewholesaling.com. I teach it in grave detail. So my biggest advice to you is understanding that just simplify your process. And if you think it's overly complicated and you're having a problem understanding it, I guarantee your sellers do not understand it. So that's the first thing you have to understand. The second biggest tip I can give you for closing any wholesaling deal is what you do before you meet with the seller sets up if you're going to win or lose. Let me repeat that one more time. What you do with your seller before you meet with them, either on the phone or in person, is going to dictate your overall success of closing wholesale deals. How do I know this? Because for the longest time, I never did this part in the business. And only out of necessity and complete frustration and having a third party saying, why don't you try it this way? Did I put two and two together? You see, here's what happens. You have to condition the seller because if you give your seller an out, they'll take it every time. Why? Because selling a home is one of the most stressful things they can do. So obviously death would be the highest stressful thing in life. We all know that. Taxes are considered a big stressful thing. Moving, which ties into selling your house, would be number 3. So moving and selling your house is probably the second or third most stressful thing in a human's life. So on average, half the people are going to give you a blow-off answer if you put them on the spot on a price on their house, even if you know they're motivated. So what do we do to prevent this? So this is a lot like sports. If you can do some preventative measures, you can help ensure the outcome of what you're going to do. Now, when I'm meeting with a seller, I got the right seller, everything's going well, and you do not do this precondition statement, you get to the final number. So Mr. Seller, I tell you what, if we can do $80,000, can we move forward today? It sounds like that number's going to work for you. And I know you want to get out of here by the end of the month. So do I have permission for me to go out to my car and get a contract and put that paperwork together? And our dream answer is absolutely, Rick, I love you. I want to move forward with you. Our nightmare answer, the worst answer you can have, most of you think it's no. It's not no. I fully accept no. I actually love no. I love the word yes, or I love the word no. The most dreaded word in the wholesaling language is let me think about it, or let me get back with you. And I got to tell you, if it hasn't happened to you yet, it's going to happen to you. And there is only one way to do countermeasures to prevent it. And it's just setting up your seller ahead of time. And this is simply as it goes. Remember, simplify your process. I'm on the way over to meet with my seller. You ready? And I said, Mr. Seller, listen, before I go in, take a look at your house, meet your lovely family, and see if I can help you out, I need you to do me a favor. And he's like, what's that, Rick? Tell me. Well, at the end of our discussion, and we're going to spend probably 45 minutes together, at the end of it, you'll have a decision to make. And your decision is either, hey, I like what Rick is proposing, I want to sell my house and move forward, or I don't like it, it's not going to work, and maybe I don't like you, Rick, and it's going to be a hard no, and I'm going to move on with my life. Either way, I'm okay with the yes or the no, but you have to make a decision. Is it fair to hold you accountable for that statement? And then I shut up and I let them answer it yes or no. What have I done by that? It gives me a safety cord if they use the maybe or I have to think about it. Now, I'm here first to tell you is when they say I need to think about it or maybe, it's usually an excuse. Number one, maybe they're just not flat out telling you the truth, and I'd rather flush it out sooner than later by doing the preconditioning statement. Number two, you have not overcome their main objections, and that's a great time to go back and explore it. Walking out of there with a maybe is the worst outcome you can have in wholesaling. And if you don't believe me, put in the comments if you've ever had the maybe, or I got to get back to you, I got to check with my lawyer, I got to do this. Snuff it all out before you get to the end of the conversation, because when you're done at the end of the conversation, there's nowhere left for you to go. Now, if they have a major objection up front and it's going to be hard to overcome, deal with it up front before you get into a long-winded, like 1 hour, visiting, negotiations, and closing, because the sooner you know this, the better off you're going to do. So we have to precondition our sellers every time. Because if you don't, most of them will default to the maybe or let me think about it and I'll get back with you. And sometimes that is the honest answer. that's what they're feeling. But for the most part, they usually don't want to tell you no, and they want to leave their options open and see if someone else will pay them more. And you can't be the backup to the prom date. It's the worst thing. Do not be the maybe guy. Do not go into the friend zone. It's just not a good place to be in wholesaling. Ask me how. My first 3 years, I spent in the friend zone a lot, way too much. And when I learned this, it's not a trick. It's letting them know I need an answer if I'm going to spend this much time with you. And if they tell you up front, I don't even think I can make a decision, I'm not going to go deep into a presentation with them because you're just wasting time and you're going to give them an out. And then you find out sometimes they can't move for 6 months. They can't move for a year. You got to find ways to solve that up front. So what I'm telling you is if you don't precondition your seller, I almost guarantee you're going to have an extremely low closing rate. Why? Because I experienced it. And I'm trying to save you the aggravation from it. And you simply have a conversation. It takes about a minute or two to get it out. And then I always tell Mr. Seller, I'm okay with the yes or the no, but you have to make a decision. And here's what I'll do. I'll even take it one step further. I promise you, no matter what your decision is, I'll still help you sell your home. And what does that mean? I might refer them with a realtor. I might have to do follow-up. Heck, I might even bring somebody else in to buy it. But I want to if you really try to help people out in wholesaling, you're going to do very well. If you're just out for this for yourself, get out of the business because you're going to get killed. It's just the truth. So preconditioning the seller, I guess the technical word is conditioning your seller. Once I learned how to condition a seller, my maybes were cut by 70% down. You're still going to get some of them. And at freewholesaling.com, we teach you how to overcome these objections. And remember, when someone doesn't always give you the answer you want, it just means most likely you did not overcome their overriding objection. And until you overcome it, you're not going to get the answer that needs to be made for the deal. So understanding that, going through it, you have to understand preconditioning them. So let's see here. Boy, it's a big one, man. This is so simple. I don't even know why I have to put this out there. You ready? Just spend more time dealing with qualified sellers. The more qualified sellers you deal with, the more deals you deal with. What do I mean by qualified seller? It's simple. Make sure they come from some sort of list that has a history of motivation, AKA all your government lists. Think about this: tax delinquencies, probates, eviction list, pre-foreclosure list, code violations, water shutoffs, fire damaged properties. Those have the most core fundamental motivation for common sense reasons. If somebody's on that list, they have a high probability of most likely wanting to solve a real estate problem. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So go where the smoke is. And by the way, there is not smoke on the MLS. No matter what you're being told, buying on-market properties with realtors, in my honest opinion, is the toughest way to get a wholesale deal. Honestly, it has nothing to do with wholesaling. Now, if it's sat on the market 6 months to a year and the property's vacant, maybe you might have a slight bit of motivation, but you still have to overcome getting through the realtor, which has one objective. Obviously, if they've had it listed for 6 to 12 months, they want to get the highest price possible, regardless of how much time it takes to sell. And that goes against everything we have in wholesaling. Now, I've bought deals off the MLS, but it's the rare exception. So I go on MLS looking for certain types of properties, but I don't really consider that wholesaling. So I do long-term buys and holds. I love certain types of deals. I love commercial deals and multifamilies. And some of those you do have to go on MLS. But for the most part, I don't buy those properties with the intent to wholesale. Because even if you had the greatest deal in the world, think about this. You don't have the money to fund it. So you got to make your contract assignable, which most realtors melt over. They just go crazy. And then number two is you've got to overcome that was already on MLS and they've already seen the price and they're going to have heartburn with the price. It's just going to be really, really hard to do it. And then the third party is you got to overcome the title company. And usually you're not in control of it. Depending on how you're buying it, it becomes a real problem. So I don't like doing them. So what I like to do is find properties that are going to have the highest motivation of off-market properties with massive amount of motivation. So that's why we push the government lists so well, because they work. And I know I can't create an entire course on it, but I have. It's over at freewholesaling.com. Is these things work really well. And I want you to understand is if you're wholesaling and you're spending time on MLS, you are not really wholesaling because that is what we consider an on-market deal. And honestly, even FSBOs, they are considered on-market even though if they're not on MLS. and they're difficult. Not saying you can't get a deal off of them, but you're going to have to find most likely a tired landlord that has a problematic property that they've tried to cure with realtors, selling it on their own. And at some point, they get so fatigued trying to sell the property, you might have a shot. The only way to overcome the FSBO is massive amount of quantity. So if you go, hey, Rick, I called 100 FSBOs. I didn't get a deal. What do? I could do 100. Was that the first hour or the second hour? They're like, no, that's what I did all month. You're not serious about this business because on-market properties take a tremendous amount of volume to even get one deal. Ask me how I know this. I've been doing this 21 years. I know what kind of volume I need just in off-market deals, and it's still big. On-market deals, I would probably multiply it by 10 minimum to even have a shot. There's a reason they're on market. They want the highest dollar amount. Why do you think you're going to override it? So when you do that, you waste a ton of time, you burn yourself out, and it's the fastest way to get out of wholesaling. And then you find some guru who says, I don't know why you're trying to compete with all those other wholesalers. I have a shortcut, a way you don't even have to do with that. And that's fine. If you want to be a dispo manager and you want to go get your real estate license, you are nothing more than a glorified realtor when it's all said and done. Prove me wrong. You got your real estate license and all you do is call wholesalers all deal to see if you can JV their deals. That to me, a realtor can do that. They don't need a wholesaler to do that. And if you're going to take that method, I would strongly advise against it. And you need to understand that. So my last and favorite one, which I get a lot of crap on the internet about this, and I really don't care because it's the truth. You need to go for the no when you make your first offer. Why? Because you need to know where your negotiations stand. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way like a realtor does, and you want to spend 4 hours doing one comp and then go and say, Mr. Seller, I think I can get you $399, $999 for your property. If all goes perfect, we stage the property, we do everything. You see, their only goal there is a total gross sales number. In wholesaling, we do it the opposite way. So I have to be on the opposite side of the spectrum. Now, a lot of people think, well, that's sharky and it's unethical. Why? So if a realtor is willing to go to the tippy top, why can't I go to the bottom? Because if I build enough rapport and have a great conversation, a realtor always goes for yes, I go for no. Why? Because when I get a counter offer, I cut my negotiation times by 70%, at least in half. And then I get a counter offer, mostly from their subconscious mind, go, listen, me and my wife cannot go below 150,000. That's just our bottom line number. If I started at 180, 190, they would go, well, our minimum offer is 200. So understanding the final offer in a seller, they always have in their head. And if you get close or shoot to that number, you just push their number up. It's human psychology. So you're better off by going for the no. Now, here's the challenge. You've been taught it's going to make you really wildly uncomfortable to make that offer. That's correct. And remember, we don't force anyone to sell us a house. So I get misquoted all the time. He just beats people up and gets the lowest price. No, I have a method to my madness and it works. Why? Because I've had tens and tens of thousands of conversations with seller. And if you try to go at your MAO, you just push your offer number up and you never get anywhere all the time. You're better off going in with a low number. You don't have to overcomp it. You spend less than 10 minutes. And at the end of the day, you have to find out what your seller's bottom line number to get the best deal possible. Is that considered sharky? Is it considered capitalism? It's considered the truth. It's just the dang truth. If you can't handle the truth, get out of this business. I'm here to tell you, if you go for a yes, you need to just go get your realtor's license because you will never make it as a wholesaler. I know that's a painful statement, but it is extremely true. Use the go for no method so you can get a counter offer from your seller to get to the final negotiations. And remember, just because they reject your first offer, that doesn't mean that's the final price where it's going to settle. But you got to get your seller to move to even have a shot at getting a great wholesale deal. And if you're constantly trying to figure out what's the highest you can go on your offer, you're always going to default to it because you were taught to be a realtor and get a yes on your first offer. My method is completely opposite. But guys, I've been doing this business 21 years. You decide which method you want to go with. I have never had a shortage of deals. I do not pay top dollar. And honestly, if they want top dollar, I am not the guy to play with. You're just wasting your time and my time, and I'm going to move forward. So for you to deal with qualified sellers, when you get them, just use the go for no method because it will save a lot of time. And if you're thinking like, well, Rick, I'm brand new to this business, I don't have the guts to do it. Well, you're going to figure it out real quick, because if you want to spend 3 years making the offers for yes, you're going to overpay for your properties and you're not going to make a lot of money. And you're probably going to either quit the business or wind up being a realtor. If you figure out my way, is I'm going to show you how to have the tough conversation up front, not get kicked out of the property or hung up on the phone, and get to a final negotiation faster. You take a lot of pressure off your seller and you don't waste as much time. It is really the best way to do it. Yes, it's a difficult conversation up front. You should feel a pit in your stomach. Why? Because you're making a low offer. But remember, we're not offering on beautiful prestige properties that have been fully renovated, that have no story behind it. You're pitching on properties that have problems. And for us to take on a problem, we have to be compensated, and we have to create a win-win situation for all parties involved. And if you think just like that, this business is incredible. If you don't think like that, it will completely fall apart on you. And I want you to understand that going into it. Is a lot of you fight me on this, but I'm here to tell you, the people that do the best, they go, Rick, I did the go for no. I was so nervous. I thought I was going to throw up, but I made the offer and I got it for $30,000 less than I ever thought I'd pay for it. Why? Because every one of you watching this video are trying to figure out what the seller number, their final number is in their head. And guess what? You're never going to know what that number is. You know how you snuff the number out? Just go for no. So if the property is worth, the ARV is 200,000, offer 110, 120. If it gets accepted, you're gold. If it gets rejected, at least you should get a counter out of it. And then a lot of you are thinking, well, I'm going to offer 170. That's my MAO. And then you go, I'm going to offer 165 right off the bat. The guy goes, absolutely not. You're not even close. What do? And you offer it high enough to where he thinks he can bait you up to the 200 and you're stuck. And now the psychology is not going to work in your favor. So you're better off by doing this. This is what I call a preemptive strike when you're going into wholesaling. A preemptive strike allows you to use a method that is not traditional, but gets you to the ends of a means and gets you there faster, efficiently, and takes stress off both sides of the party. It's the go for no method. Take it. But I've only been doing this 21 years. So you decide which method you guys want to follow. If you stop going for yes on every first time, that's what realtors do. And I don't want you to be a realtor. And you have to understand, every contract you write on a deal doesn't mean it's a deal. To this date, I've written contracts that just don't work out. And here's the one thing I've learned in life. Stop fighting it. If the number doesn't work and you can't get your seller to come to that number, move on or try to renegotiate or put them in your follow-ups. It's like the universe is telling you this isn't going to work out for a reason. And the more you try to force it to make it work, the harder it's going to get. And you'll find if you'll let go of that and just do a natural follow-up organically, time and circumstances will probably get you exactly what you want. Trying to force people to do a deal when you know it's way too tight and it's not going to work, you're just going to spin your wheels. Remember, you don't make any money in wholesaling and writing contracts. So many of you think, oh my God, I wrote a contract. Now, if that's a benchmark for creative financing, then knock yourself out. Go over there, because you'll get a little check mark for writing a contract and getting it accepted. The reality is, can you turn that into a profit? And unless you do creative financing the way I teach, make money from day one, you'll always be out there like, am I actually going to make money doing this? Now, if you have a bankroll behind you and you have a legal team and you got a lot of experience, knock yourself out. Most of you don't. And by the way, creative financing is not a shortcut or a substitution for wholesaling. You'll find more creative deals within wholesaling, but you've got to learn how to talk to people, how all contracts work, different types of loans. That's why I'm not a huge fan of people learning creative financing off the bat with zero experience, because most of the time you don't know what you're doing. I get it. You could take a course, a guru, knock yourself out. But if you don't understand what you're doing when you take over someone's loan, there's real consequences if people don't live up to their agreements, including yourself and your seller. And if you take over creative financing on your seller and you sell it to somebody else because you're cool, you made a quick 10 grand, and that person doesn't wind up paying the mortgage and the property goes in default, you, Mr. Middleman Creative Financing, you can be at risk of being sued on the transaction because all the seller knows is you. So if you don't understand how to assign over creative financing and stuff, please do not use this as a quick fix. I see it advertised out there all the time. Just do creative financing. You don't have to compete with wholesalers. It's not a good way to start. Creative financing is amazing and I love it, but you have to learn it correctly. And the only way you can learn it is you have to learn all the terminology. You have to understand how the business works, and you have to understand what you're on the hook for. And if you don't understand that because you thought it was a quick fix to wholesaling or it was easier, you're going to find out the hard way. Most people do creative financing. They don't make money from day one. So you go out and do 3 or 4 deals like, how do I make money? Guess how you make money in this business? You wholesale. That's how you make money. You can do all the creative financing deals you want. So not every contract's a deal. I don't care what people say. Yes, I've written contracts and they just don't work out. If you batted 100% on your contracts, you are not wholesaling. Honestly, it should be way less than 10%, probably around 5 to 7% of your contracts that get accepted, depending on how you write them. So some of you guys like write contracts and just throw stuff out on the wall and see if it's going to stick on there. So guys, that's it. You have to simplify this process. So I want you to understand, focus on one singular thing and just tell the truth up front. I'm a cash buyer looking to buy your property. Stop trying to hide behind this giant conglomerate corporation. They don't care. Honestly, sellers prefer to work with you individually one-on-one because they think you care more. Number 2, I want you to understand, you have to condition the seller before you go there to avoid the maybe and the friend zone. If you get stuck there, it's your own fault because you did not take the time to do what I've taught you how to do. If you want to learn how to do it, go over to freewholesaling.com. It's called conditioning or preconditioning the seller. It works really well. And the last one is just, use the go for no. And I know you're like, oh God, Rick, it's so scary. You know what's scary is when you get a yes off the bat, you overpay for a property and you spend the next month or 2 desperately trying to sell it after calling 30 cash buyers and they're telling you the price is wrong, you need to adjust it. Do you know what's scary? Calling that seller back to either get out of the contract or try to get a price adjustment because you keep missing on the price. You're better off getting rejected up front and finding out what the counter offers and see if you can work that into a deal. Hands down, that's harder up front, but easier on the back end. If you do it the way the gurus teach you and go on MLS to buy on market properties, it seems super simple up front. That's because you can swipe your credit card and they get paid. And they can drag you out for 2 to 3 months and then blame you on your inaction. And then it's extremely difficult on the back end. The guru's gone and you're left to sit there to try to sell 3 properties that you put under contract, that the realtor's depending on you, the seller's depending on you, and the buyers are just toying with you because they know you have it overpriced. And then if you ever get a buyer, you're going to have to overcome the MLS price, which is public information, and you're trying to sell it at the same price or more, which is like crazy if you think about that.